All right, welcome back to the calendar series. We're in May. This is the second week of May, and we're really looking at Fair Lady Weaves the Shuttle. But before that, we're finishing with Wild Horse Parts the Mane. All right, so for this last exercise for Wild Horse Parts the Mane, I wanted to offer an exercise that gives you a sense of the splitting motion. There's a little bit of splitting energy that will facilitate the lock and or the break of the elbow of this exercise. When you practice this with a partner, you get a sense of this splitting motion as being really effective in off-centering the opponent. So this splitting motion comes from the hips. Of course, it's connected to the feet, but it comes from the hip rotation. And this hip rotation, for example, on this right side, the left hip moving forward pushes the left hand forward, vice versa, right hip backward, right hand backward, switching here to the left side, and it will inverse. So rather than moving the hands backward and forward, we're talking about the hands being moved back and forward by the hip rotation, by the torso rotation. And so you have this connection from the hands all the way to the hips, wrists, elbows, shoulders, and all the way into the hips. So you feel the chest bow wave, and that's really what I wanted to guide you towards, was feeling the wave of the chest bow in the same way that the spine waves. So what is needed is softness. So I hope this drill, this exercise, guides you towards softness and a feeling of openness within the joints, the shoulder joints specifically. Let me know what you think about that. And now after that, so what I was describing in the description of this drill and exercise was how the transition into grasp arrows tail left really throws you off, because it's so different from the other parts of the form, other parts of the Tai Chi form. When you go into Wild Horse Parts Mane, when you go into Fair Lady Weaves a Shuttle, the hands are up, and so you have to bring them down and position them to get the arm lock for grasp arrows tail left. So what I'm suggesting is simply dropping the lower hand and coiling the upper hand. So in this case, the right coils down, the left arm just drops down to position for the elbow lock. Right hand coiling, position the elbow lock, transition for grasp arrows tail left. And we're ripping that out. So from Wild Horse Parts Mane, there's a right hand coil, transition which facilitates the elbow lock, right hand coil, pong as well, grasp arrows tail left. So yeah, actually a lot of times still feels uncomfortable for me. As many times as I've done it, there's still just something about that transition that feels a little bit foreign. And you know, those are those moments, those are those postures and positions that we need to rep out so they become less foreign over time, more proficient. And you know, this is really what guides us towards the training. Okay, well, what doesn't feel right? What feels disconnected? What feels uncoordinated? And you know, you keep doing it and doing it until you finally gain that feeling. That process is, you know, part of the Kung Fu process. Now we're moving into Fair Lady Weaves a Shuttle. And what you really gain with this posture is growing Jing. Growing Jing is when you are slowly penetrating the defenses of the opponent to off-center. And you feel this in centering practice. And growing Jing is, it's not linear. It doesn't have to always be like linear or straightforward, but it's a growing in its connection, your connection to the opponent. But what I like to describe here in the growing energy manifestation of this is the spinal wave, and you're sort of cradling your arms at the torso, waving the spine up and letting the arms grow out of that energy of the spine wave. So first we're holding the arms up and doing the spinal movements, the spinal waves that will set our energy in motion. And you can see we're just keeping the palms facing towards the face and repping out the spinal waves. So you're allowing your shoulders to relax, and even though you're holding the forearms with the biceps, they're still relaxed. They're flexible, they're malleable, and you're getting a sense of, and then I finish the posture, you're getting a sense of growing from the feet, sinking spinal wave, and finally finishing in the hands and fingers. Growing spinal wave, finishing in the hands and fingers. And so if you're able to feel that, then you should be able to make it a full body exercise and have all of these parts integrated and moving succinctly and softly. And the next one we'll look at the footwork, and we'll look at the hand placement. So I specifically talk about just starting upright. And now what we're doing is we're allowing that energy to move from the spinal wave into the arms and extend. And what we're doing is we're actually doing some yang coils. If we refer back to the beginning of the series, you saw how we circled the hands in the vertical plane to perform the yang circles, and we're going back to that, and we're just positioning the hands a little bit differently. So I talk about the footwork here. For the posture, let's say in this case, the right foot is initiating the posture. And when it reaches a maximum yang, the left foot initiates the posture. Again, from yin to yang right here, right foot initiates the posture. And then what I also talk about is the placement of the rear hand, the lower hand. What I like to do is just place the pinky on the forearm. So in this case, the right pinky on the left forearm. Right here, left pinky on the right forearm. And this sets the hands in place as the bottom rear hand is sort of hiding behind the front hand. Front hand is creating the path, clearing way for this rear hand to come in and strike, or whatever it's going to do, push. And we're focusing on this hand movement and the foot movement as well, just keeping the stance tall to get these components intact. And then what I also talk about is how slowly because of the rotation, all the rotation on the grass, my stance ends up getting wider and wider progressively. So that's totally fine with me, as I want to perform the posture with low stances. And now we're doing something different. We are doing a walking drill with Fair Lady Weave Shuttle. Imagine just driving forward, pushing, driving forward, pushing, driving forward, pushing. So going from yin to yang, there's a couple of different ways you can switch and you can apply the heel-toe transition. So as you're growing and as the hands are going, you can start to transition into the heel-toe transition. Or you can apply the push, the posture to its end. So right there, I didn't do it, but to its end, and then do the heel-toe transition. So let's see, right there, I went to its end. Here, I went to its end, and then I did the heel-toe transition to switch. Let's see what I do here. I went to the end, and then I heel-toe transition. As the hands fall, the hands relax. But what I was saying was there's another option to where you're already doing the heel-toe transition, sort of shifting before the hands reach their maximum yang. Right there, that's what I did. All right, well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy this week's. I'll see you again for next week's May week 3 in the Taijiquan calendar series.